Hey everyone, welcome back to Period 5. Today I'm joined by Aanyaa Garatikar. On paper, her life is a whirlwind of TEDx stages, global leadership, and biomedical research. But what makes Aanya's story a true Period 5 journey is how she handled a major pivot. After 7 years of dancing, a recent injury forced her off the stage. But instead of walking away from ballet, she used it as a spark to bridge the gap between injury, science, and the arts. Today, we're talking about the Petri Dish, the Ballerina Project, and why she's fighting for more substantive inclusion in schools, as well as the struggles of doing all of this while being a student, like the rest of us, dealing with exams and all. So Aanyaa, thank you very much for being here. What's on your mind today?
I'm super excited to be here. I absolutely love talking about what I'm doing, and I really hope that I'll inspire a lot of other young people like us to also take action on the things that they care about most.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Well, so when I'm not working on a new post or studying for school, I personally am an avid book reader. I love to read fantasy and fiction books. Like currently, I'm working on reading The Hunger Games.
Let's dive into your story and what you're currently doing. So you're working to make microbiology and biotech accessible. For someone who thinks science is just boring textbooks, how do you explain to them what the Petri Dish is and what you're trying to do?
So, the Petri Dish, it's a blog where I try to make complex biology, technology, and related concepts more easily understandable and also more interesting. Because right now I find that a lot of these actually interesting and really fascinating technology and research is locked behind papers that are honestly really confusing to read, really difficult to in the first place, and that really doesn't make a lot of people try and read it. Plus, the way it's taught in schools is often not very engaging, it's not interactive, and that's why a lot of students tend to not be interested in biology in the first place. So on my blog, I'm trying to change that by making it more friendly and more encouraging so that more people can get involved in contributing to it while also incorporating what we learn from biology in daily life.
Great, yeah. I mean, what you said about biology being the core of everything is really interesting. A lot to dive into there. So, pivoting a bit to your other project, the Ballerina Project, why did you feel like India needed a specific movement for ballerinas, and what's the core mission here?
Okay, so the reason why I started this in the first place and why I think that we need a project like this is because right now it has a lot of science, it has a lot of struggle behind it, a lot of which is necessary. This isn't struggle that it's struggle that is actually important in your journey of being a ballerina, but not a lot of this stuff, not a lot of the science and the struggle is actually talked about. And that's important because it could help so many young ballerinas, dancers who are training to better understand the art form they're working in right now, and also so that they can live a healthier life. Alongside that, you learn flexibility, you're able to improve your strength, and that's why I think ballet needs to be talked about much more. And we need to also talk about the issues in ballet, like who belongs to ballet, who belongs in this art form, in this industry in the first place. And that's something that almost no one talks about. Right now, there's so many stereotypes, and those need to be addressed. That's why I'm co-founding the Ballerina Project India.
Mm-hmm. So zooming in a bit on what you said, since you've learned so much about biomechanics and injury science.
Well, in our blog, we're currently writing. We've written in the past as well about common injuries. Like we talk about some common injuries that ballerinas face pretty regularly. Such as plantar fasciitis, which is an injury that is pretty common. And we talk about how you can practically prevent these. We talk about their causes and how you can avoid getting such an injury in the first place. And along with that, we also explain early symptoms so that dancers, they can recognize these issues before they get too serious and before it has a chance of impairing their career potentially. So we try to talk about this. We also try to focus on educating dancers about proper technique and alignment, which is very important in ballet because any wrong movement could strain the wrong muscles. And just like any sport, it is important to maintain a proper structure while doing ballet. So we also talk about that. We talk about and break down how muscles and movement actually work. We talk about nutrition and mental health because that's also a very important part of performance and recovery. And we talk about other things like strength and flexibility, balance, all of which we need to improve as a dancer. And along with that, we also supplemented with our own experiences. Like I share things which I wish I had known earlier. The co-founder does the same as well. And through this, we try to improve and help dancers in having a better ballet career and in getting the most out of this art form.
If you were redesigning a biology textbook tomorrow to make people actually care, what is the first thing you throw out and what would you replace it with?
That's a really good question. I feel like right now science is often boring because it's taught in a way that feels disconnected from real life. So the first thing I would throw out of the textbook would probably be the very long explanations that are really theory based, which is, I mean, that's all right, but it doesn't provide they usually don't provide much of a reference to things that I can actually connect to as a student. For example, when I was learning about cells in grade 6, it was a bit confusing at the start, but then later on learning about how it's connected and it kind of works just like a city actually helps, right? Because you're able to connect with the place you might live in, with the city you live in, and then you can connect that to how a cell works. And that automatically makes it so much more interesting because it feels like something you already know. That's the first thing I would remove and also add at the same time.
Large part of your journey so far, which is studies and research of neurodiversity. So instead of just using inclusion buzzwords, how does your scientific background help you understand why different types of brains are actually necessary for a lab or a dance company to actually succeed?
Well, one thing I've learned from all the research I've done for even science is that diversity is almost always a good thing. Even diversity in a population, it's good for the health of the population, and it results in just better. It makes the whole area much better, the whole population in the scientific point of view. In a dance company or a lab, diversity is important because it brings in new ideas. If you have people from different backgrounds, not just cultural, but also people who might be neurodivergent, which means their brain might work a little bit differently than what we call normal. It is good for the lab, it's good for the art company because it introduces new ideas, new perspectives that you might not otherwise find there. And also a mix of different thinking styles, of different ways to get to a solution often leads to better ideas and innovation. And it prevents you from getting repetitive solutions.
So what is one thing schools usually get wrong about neurodivergent students? And how can we use science to fix it?
Okay, sorry. Alright, so one thing that I think schools get wrong pretty often about neurodivergent students is that these students are special and treating them as special cases because that's the shortest way to create an us versus them sort of mentality. And that's not good for the student and it's not good for others as well because that increases the divide rather than bridging it. And apart from that, schools often assume that one method works for everyone, and that is a big problem because everyone, whether they're neurodivergent or not, they have a different method of learning, and embracing that is really, really important. Another thing I've learned from my science research is that the scientific method works really well for this, for really anything, because when it's important to observe especially if you're working with diversity. It's important to observe and understand from your observations, um, what you might use to solve a problem, for example, a problem a student might be facing. And it's also important to test anything you might be trying, because testing can help you like fix anything that might go wrong. And all of this is important, and ways that we can avoid schools from making these small mistakes.
So I want to wrap up by coming back and tying ribbon with your story as a human, right? So between ballet and position of a lab and working with neurodivergent students, you basically live in a world that demands perfection. So how do you stay grounded when reality, like a tough exam or just even a physical limit, gets in the way of your perfection?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I am a bit of a perfectionist. I really like to try to get everything right in the first try, or at least get it right eventually. But I've slowly realized through everything I've faced right now, is that I've realized that perfection, it isn't worth it if it's leading to you suffering from burnout or injury. It's important to like have a balance between your the things that you like to do and the things that you need to do for like school or for a project you're passionate about. It's okay to like make mistakes. I mean, you learn from those. And it's alright to slow down once in a while, reassess what is important for you, and then again come back, because taking breaks is really, really good for you. That's something I've learned. And I think what's the most important thing, and I know this is a bit cheesy, but it's important to try to be yourself, try your best to be yourself, and also you should try to help everyone else. Because when you are yourself, there's even though you might not be perfect, being yourself is a great way to just feel a lot better. When you are yourself, when you represent your true self, then you can help others much more efficiently, much more effectively, and then it doesn't really feel like a task to do all the things in your life, to work on studies and to work on your project at the same time. Okay. Yeah.
So, first one scientific myth that drives you crazy.
One scientific myth that drives me crazy. Okay. Uh, it's that ovens and microwaves are not good for you. I know this is really, really random, but one thing I've heard a lot is that microwaves and ovens are not good for you. And that is something that makes me that I feel is really weird, because it's just another way to heat your food, right? And that's one myth that drives me crazy. Yeah.
Coffee or tea to survive an IB MIP deadline?
I think coffee. It's much more effective than tea.
Favorite ballet?
Favorite ballet? Okay. I think it would be Alice in Wonderland. It's like a modern ballet. It's not one of those classical ones. It's a relatively new one. And it's really interesting. I love the way they've adapted the book into a ballet. So that's my favorite, I think, right now.
If you could have dinner with any scientist, living or dead, who is it?
I would have it with the scientist who first discovered cells, Anton von Leeuwenhoek. I think that's how you say his name. But he's the scientist who first discovered cells, and he did it with his own microscope, which he made. And the funniest, and the way he figured it out and he found these cells in the first place, is by scraping the plaque of his teeth.
What is the most unglamorous, repetitive task that you have to do for your projects that nobody ever sees?
It's definitely the research. I personally take a long time to do the research, because it's a lot of reading, it's a lot of watching different videos to like understand stuff sometimes, and cross-checking between sources, like, is this an actual fact, or is it someone's opinion, or is it made up? And then at the end of it, especially for the Petri dish, it's simplifying it simplifying all this research, because you need to like connect it with real life, and that takes time and that takes a lot of mental effort. Apart from that, it's me just looking at a sentence for a while and thinking, should I write this or should I change it a little bit? Because that often is a question on my mind.
The most used app on your phone, except for social media?
I think it would be YouTube. I listen to songs while I walk, and that's something I use the most often. I don't really use my phone that much, so that's probably the one app I use a lot.
One thing you do to reset when you're completely burnt out?
I like to draw, or sometimes read. Like I said at the start, drawing, I draw from tutorials, I draw fashion sometimes, and I find that really relaxing. If I'm even more burnt out, if I'm more tired than that, then I'd much rather read a book and disappear into a fantasy, into another world, so I can not think about what's happening in the real world.
Yeah, that sounds like my brother. So, one last question that I love to ask everybody is, describe yourself in just 3 words and why.
Okay, that's a bit difficult. Okay, so I'd say curious is one of them. I like to ask questions, even though I might not think of them from at the start, like when I just listen to something or I read something. I think of a lot of them later on. Another thing that describes me would be really passionate. If I find something that I really like, I will stick to that and I will think of that for the rest of the day and somehow connect it with everything else I'm doing. So that is another thing that would describe me. Apart from that, I think it would be a bit awkward. Another word that describes me is awkward. I'm awkward in a lot of social situations, like talking to people, thinking of the right thing to say is a little difficult for me. I'm very selectively social, so I would say that I'm a bit awkward when I'm talking to people.
Yeah, I mean, you're describing a really good scientist, in my opinion. Curious, awkward. Okay, so Anya, this was really great. Thank you for showing us that even when the original plan changes, you can use that friction to build something that helps everyone else. For everybody listening, check out the links to Anya's work in the description. Good luck with the Petri Dish, Anya, and thank you very much for being on Period 5.
Thank you
We'll
so
see you
much.
guys in next one.
Bye.